How's it going, everybody? My name is Holley, and welcome to another episode of the Pride Report. We got a ton to get to today, as I will be previewing the games over the next 4 days in this episode, which is the last one of the week. I'll be back on Monday, recapping everything I talked about today, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Apparently there is no such thing as a quiet night in college basketball. Despite yesterday's underwhelming slate, it featured two top 5 teams going down. The first being Florida. The wheels are coming off in Gainesville right now. Florida has lost 3 consecutive, the last coming versus Loyola Chicago last night in one of the biggest upsets this season. Now this absolutely stuns me. I watched Florida play Gonzaga until like 3 a.m. Thanksgiving weekend when they were still undefeated. This team was everything we had hoped them to be and more. But after blowing the lead against Duke in the next game and losing that one in a heartbreaker, this team has lost its mojo and they honestly look awful. The Gators hit 2 3-pointers in this stunning loss to Loyola. By far their lowest total of the season. They also recorded only 7 assists. It was a very weak offensive output, something that we're kind of getting used to from Florida as of late. So what has happened here? How has Florida gone from one of the most feared offenses in the country and averaging over 100 a game to failing to crack 60 against Loyola Chicago, a lower-tier mid-major program? I talked about this on Tuesday, but I'll repeat myself here as the majority of the issues in UF's loss to FSU also apply in this one. First off, Florida appears incapable of creating their own shots. They live and die by the three-point shot, and sometimes that can blow up in your face, as it did Wednesday. When the threes literally aren't falling at all, when the threes literally weren't falling at all, I should say, instead of adjusting the offensive game plan accordingly, Florida just shot more and more and more until the game was over and they had 6 total points from behind the arc. And this team just wasn't aggressive whatsoever on either end of the floor. I mean, it's not that the Gators don't have athletes, but they are consistently out-toughed, especially down low. I know, big man John Egbunu is out right now, and without him, obviously, they're not as good as they could be. But you're Florida. There's no excuse in the world that can explain getting completely outplayed on your own court by a Loyola Chicago team missing their starting point guard, and just a week removed from being manhandled by Boise State. But as bad as it is right now, it could get even worse soon, as they will take on number 17 Cincinnati on Saturday. Believe it or not, Florida's loss was probably not the most surprising upset on Wednesday night. Washington topped number 2 Kansas on essentially the Jayhawks' home floor behind Matisse Thybulle's 19 points to improve to 7-2 on the year, those 7 wins being just 2 less than their season total of 9 from a year ago. Coming into this game, Kansas had the nation's largest average margin of victory at over 30 points a game in one of the top scoring offenses. Last night was not a reflection of that. Kansas was held to 64 points by a Washington team that allowed Eastern Washington, UC Davis, Seattle, Kennesaw State, Omaha, literally everyone they faced this year to score at least 69. The biggest reason Kansas struggled to produce offensively was their inability to convert three-pointers, one of the biggest strengths of their game. Washington's defensive game plan coming in was to expand the zone to limit the damage from behind the arc, and it worked. Kansas couldn't get open looks, and they made only 5 threes all night. Another reason was Devontae Graham's blatant ineffectiveness. Graham scored just 3 points in the loss, by far his lowest scoring total all season. Graham came into the game off back-to-back 35-point performances in which he went a combined 24 for 36 from the field and 7 for 13 from 3. Last night, he made just 1 field goal. This is Graham's team, and he knows that. He knows that he can't play like this if Kansas is to go deep in the NCAA tournament. But he's a veteran's veteran, and we all know what he's capable of, so I seriously doubt that this is going to be a recurring theme for him. Lagerald's Vic, he was great, though. He is an amazing athlete. I don't know if we're talking about him enough this season. He's been huge offensively all year long. But mad props to Washington. This was a great all-around performance for them. Mike Hopkins had his team ready to play, and they delivered. These guys can be a force to be reckoned with in the wide-open Pac-12, a conference that appears to be anyone's game at this point. Some news and notes around college basketball here. UCLA canceled their game against Montana last night due to rapidly spreading wildfires across Los Angeles. all UCLA sports games and practices were canceled. Boston College forward Deontay Hawkins is out for the season with a knee injury. He was the Eagles' leading rebounder at 9.1 per game and also averaged 12 points per game on the year. And a great bit of news here as South Carolina State's Ty Solomon is fully responsive and was well enough to speak to reporters after his cardiac event during Saturday's loss to NC State, but it remains unclear what caused the health scare. Now what we're going to do is break down the slate of games over the next few days, and we're going to start with tonight's. Purdue will go up against unbeaten Valparaiso to kick off tonight's set of matchups. They're the only ranked team in action. Iowa and Iowa State will go head-to-head in a rivalry game. Iowa leads the all-time series in that one, 44-26, and won last year by 14. Ohio will take on Maryland. And in a great mid-major matchup, Texas Arlington will face Northern Iowa. That'll be the game that I'll be watching tonight. South Carolina State will also face Brevard College in their first home game since the terrifying incident on Saturday. Moving right along now, only 15 scheduled college games on Friday, but lucky for us, 3 of those involve top 25 teams thanks to the Basketball Hall of Fame Classic triple header in LA. This one's going to be a lot of fun. Arizona State has been one of the most impressive teams all season, jumping into the top 25 a few weeks ago after routing Xavier. St. John's will be a big-time test for them, however. Something's going to have to give in this one, as St. John's is tied for 7th in points allowed at 60 per game, while Arizona is 4th in points scored per game at 92.7. I have ASU taking this one. Following that, we're going to have an opportunity to learn just how good Oklahoma is as they will take on USC at 10:30 p.m. Of course, we already know how good Trae Young is, but the question is whether the rest of the team can put together a solid all-around performance behind him and hand USC their 3rd straight loss. I think Oklahoma can do it too. And finally, at 1 in the morning, Nevada will face TCU in the biggest test all year for both teams. Nevada has ridden the phenomenal play of Caleb and Cody Martin to their first appearance in the AP Top 25 in 10 years, while TCU has been amazing offensively all year long as well. 5 guys average double figures for the Horned Frogs. I think Nevada takes this one, but it could go either way. Definitely worth staying up till 1 if you ask me. I think this one is going to be very entertaining. Now let's take a look at what the weekend has to offer. Florida is going to be taking on number 17 Cincinnati in what definitely feels like a must-win for the Gators, who are staring 4 losses in 13 days right in the face. Cincinnati is going to be playing for the first time since losing to Xavier on Saturday in a game that will be remembered for the off-the-court drama that has become so prominent in this rivalry. I have the Bearcats in this one. And then Wichita State goes on the road to face Oklahoma State. Jeffrey Carroll's been really good for OSU, averaging 14.6 points per game since returning after being withheld for the first 3 games due to the ongoing FBI investigation of the program. The Cowboys can't match the depth of Wichita State, so I think they're going to drop this one on their home floor, but it could be interesting. And Xavier is going to meet Colorado, and Minnesota will take a break from SEC play to face Arkansas. See if the Gophers can get Jordan Murphy going again after his modest performance in their loss to Nebraska on Tuesday. We also have number 1 Duke facing Boston College to kick off the ACC slate for both of those teams. Finally, Sunday brings a Gonzaga-Washington game that is 1,000 times more intriguing after the Huskies' stunning upset of Kansas last night. If Washington can win this one, they have a chance at a really nice resume heading into March with non-conference wins over Kansas and Gonzaga. So this is definitely an important one right there. And Kansas will be back in action against Arizona State, who has a very busy weekend ahead of them with St. John's and the Jayhawks in a span of 3 days. Villanova and Purdue are the other ranked teams in action. I look for both of those teams to win. And also Tulane looks to prove that they're among the better teams in the top-heavy AAC on the road at unbeaten Florida State, who should be ranked in the upcoming AP poll. That's going to pretty much do it for today's episode, guys. If you like what you saw here, be sure to let me know by going down and hitting that big red subscribe button, and by following the show on Twitter at CPP Pride Report. You can also follow collegepridepress.com on Twitter at EDUPridePress to receive instant notifications when we post new content. You can also follow me on Twitter. Links are all in the description below. I'll be recapping all of the games that I previewed today on Monday in a loaded episode, so I hope to see you guys then for sure. But thank you for watching and enjoy the games. I'll see you on Monday. Bye.